Okay, so you can tell your salami from your saucisson. And maybe you know how the sausage is made, but you've still got a long way to go if you're making these classic sausage mistakes. If you've ever seen food branded as local, you may be inclined to believe that it's somehow better for you. Indeed, there are often quite a few advantages when it comes to buying locally sourced meats and produce, such as lowered costs and increased environmental sustainability. However, buying local doesn't always mean you get a higher quality or more nutritious product. What's more important is considering the type of meat used and whether or not the company employs additives, fillers, extenders, and other products in its sausage manufacturing. Take Clement sausages, for example. This popular pork pick is sourced from Wisconsin, a state that's well known for producing impeccable cheeses and sausages. While the average local Badger Lovin' patron may assume these sausages are better, the truth is that they contain many of the same ingredients as other brands. Will they contain filler? Maybe, depending on how you want to define it. The brand's 14-ounce smoked sausage contains water and isolated oat product. Additives? Yep, sodium nitrate is on the list too. This is why it's important to compare the ingredients of your local sausage to one made by a brand name manufacturer, especially if the price of the local one is higher. Sure, it's great to support local butchers and small businesses, but for the best sausage, always make sure that meat is up to par. Is eating uncured sausage better for your health? Maybe, or maybe not. As shocking as it may seem, uncured or so-called all-natural sausages might not always be better for you, especially when it comes to nitrate consumption. The misunderstanding regarding the difference between cured meat and uncured meat is that uncured varieties are usually still technically cured. They simply use ingredients such as celery powder or celery extract, as celery is known for containing high levels of nitrates. Because of this, experts aren't sure that these uncured meats are better for you, as you are still consuming nitrates, even if it's from a natural source. Until researchers discover otherwise, it may be best to simply lay off any sort of processed meat, if nitrates bother you, that is. Oh, and don't forget, these supposedly natural sausages often come with high levels of sodium, fat, and calories, just like any other kind. Low on cash? It may be tempting to select the cheapest cuts of meat to feed yourself and your family, but not so fast. While nobody should ever be judged for wanting to save a few bucks, it's still worth knowing that cheaper brands of sausage are often cheap for a reason.
Give me money. Money me. Money now. Me a money needing a lot now.
Cheap sausage brands often use specific techniques to make their sausages more affordable, but not necessarily tastier, more filling, or more nutritious. Manufacturers pump their sausages full of meat fillers and extenders, many of which consist of animal parts that you may not consume otherwise. But that isn't all. Cheaper sausage brands may also use fillers in the form of oats, flour, and other grains, which help to give the sausages the appearance of plumpness, when in reality, they're actually loaded with non-meat ingredients. Another way manufacturers deceive the eye is to inject sausages with water. While this isn't necessarily something that would harm your health, the water often evaporates once your sausage hits heat. You're then possibly left with the shriveled up husk of the meat you began with. Though the cheapest options may sound best for your wallet, keep in mind that they won't necessarily do much good in the kitchen. Just as it may be tempting to purchase cheaper options when your budget is tight, it can also be tempting to shell out for expensive brands with fancier packaging. While it is true that expensive sausages sometimes have advantages over the more inexpensive ones, you'll need to maintain a discerning eye to know for sure. For example, the packaging you'll find on brands such as kielbasa may indicate that they're much higher in quality than your typical sausage. In reality, though, the ingredients are quite similar. Kielbasa should at least be commended for not using fillers, but the product still contains a couple of additives and nitrates meant to preserve that meat. To be clear, there's nothing inherently wrong with either cheap or expensive brands, but it helps to know what you're buying in order to determine whether or not the upcharge is actually worth it. So take the time to check labels and look out for ingredients that are difficult to pronounce, especially if there are many of them listed on the packaging. It can be easy to get into something of a sausage rut, but if that happens to you, never fear, for there are many other sausage options on the market these days. Chicken and turkey sausages sometimes provide lower fat options, which can make them ideal for people with certain dietary restrictions. These varieties may also contain fewer additives, although this won't always be the case, so read your labels. If nothing else, turkey and chicken sausages can provide a unique twist on traditional sausage flavor. Who knows, you may find that you actually enjoy the difference. So what brands are out there? Aidells offers up flavorful chicken sausages that are often processed with minimal ingredients. Simple Truth, a Kroger house brand, features chicken and turkey sausage varieties, both of which also contain few ingredients. especially when compared to other, more popular brands on the market. Other brands, such as Butterball, Hillshire, Eckrich, and other common sausage labels, also put out their own versions of turkey sausage, though they may come stuffed full of extra ingredients and preservatives, so you'll want to stay clear if you're worried about that sort of thing. Buying a bunch of pre-sliced, pre-cooked frozen sausage patties is pretty nifty, isn't it? After all, we all know what it's like to be short on time in the morning, and having half the work done for us as far as breakfast is concerned can be incredibly convenient. Even so, there are a few pitfalls to be aware of when you're out buying pre-sliced or pre-made sausages. The first and most obvious reason you may wish to skip on pre-sliced and pre-cooked sausages is that it'll cost you more in the long run. Take Kroger's fully cooked frozen pork sausage patties as an example. At the moment, you'll get around 27 ounces of sausage for about $10. They're meant to be a take on the traditional raw breakfast sausage, but that doesn't mean you won't also find quite a few additives in them. The Kroger mild pork sausage roll, on the other hand, contains only 5 ingredients, none of which are additives, and costs less per ounce than the patties. And that's no coincidence either. For another example, look at Jimmy Dean sausage varieties in your local store. You'll likely find that a box of pre-cooked Jimmy Dean patties will cost more per ounce than a raw Jimmy Dean breakfast sausage roll. If you're feeling cost-conscious, the best thing you could do would be to buy a roll of sausage, slice it up yourself, and freeze the patties for later use. Are your sausages coming across a bit drab? Even if they're not, sausages can always benefit from a little boost. After all, can a sausage ever actually have too much flavor? Nope. Because of this, it can help to have a few spices on hand to knock your meat up a notch. One favorite trick for adding more flavor to sausage includes adding garlic, freshly cracked black pepper, dried sage, Italian seasoning, or crushed red pepper flakes to uncased raw sausages. Adding these seasonings can give the sausage a flavor boost without needing to spend extra on sausages that already come flavored. Another trick? Try cooking your sausages in broth, wine, or beer. All of these liquids can infuse your meat with more flavor than boiling in water or searing will do alone. One last way to infuse your sausages with flavor is a classic. Cook them up with peppers and onions. Everyone knows how flavorful peppers and onions can be, but when paired with the spicy taste of sausage, the resulting flavor is simply unmatched. While many consumers often assume that sausages contain just one kind of meat, usually pork or beef, the reality is that many sausage brands boast more than one type of protein. These mixtures are often mechanically processed and can contain all sorts of interesting additions, many of which may move you to think twice when it comes to consuming them. Head meat, organs, and blood are just a few examples of what you might find in certain sausages. These additions are often referred to as mechanically deboned meat, fillers, or extenders, and can be scraps of an animal that are used up rather than thrown away.
That'll do, pig. That'll do.
What is the purpose of these add-ins? They can be used to enhance the overall look of your sausage while also improving its shelf life. These fillers can help achieve plump, juicy, and attractive sausages and can save the manufacturer money, while also leading consumers to believe they're buying big, meaty portions of pork or beef. Instead, they'll receive a hodgepodge of mechanically separated turkey, pork, chicken, or a variety of other meats, and they won't necessarily have a good idea as to which parts of which animals were used. Brands like Bar S, Hillshire, and Eckrich are some of the more common sausage brands to use this type of mix, though they are hardly the only ones. Many sausages out there get a bad rap, but it's important to note that not all sausage types are the same. Of course, you know there are differences between brands, but there are also differences between certain sausage types and the ingredients used to make them. For example, you'll seldom find as many additives in plain, raw sausage as you would in smoked sausage. This, no doubt, has a lot to do with the differences in the respective shelf lives of the products. Raw sausage will expire much faster than a cured and preserved one. Bratwurst may contain a variety of ingredients that your morning sausage links may or may not also contain. Ultimately, not all sausages should be viewed as the same, because they simply aren't. So what does this all mean? If you're someone who worries about preservatives and other additives, you may wish to select raw sausages rather than preserved or pre-cooked varieties. Though they aren't always additive-free, there are some raw sausages that contain minimal ingredients. Notably, they're also sometimes made without the use of MSG, a food additive with a checkered, if arguably undeserved, reputation. Ultimately, the best move is to read up about different types of sausage and keep an eye on the label when you're browsing the grocery store. Different sausages have different functions. When it's time to buy, knowing what you need for your kitchen is key. Discerning between sausages can be easy for those who cook often, but may not prove so for someone who isn't as privy to the world of savory pork. By staying well-versed in the different types of sausages available, you'll have a better time selecting the type you need to help your home recipe stand out. Andouille, for instance, is a type of sausage that works especially well in Cajun and Creole seasoned dishes. This sausage variety is heaped with spices, most of which lean toward heat and flavor. It's often smoked, too, which adds to its appeal. Andouille adds a wonderful flavor to meals such as jambalaya, stew, and more. Meanwhile, summer sausage is a variety created in pre-refrigeration Europe, namely Germany. Its soft texture proves to be excellent when paired with cheese and crackers, making it a wonderful addition for your guests to sample on your next charcuterie board. Of course, that's just the tip of the sausageberg. Other types of sausage include Italian sausages, kielbasa, brats, and many more. Do a little research on each one, and you'll know just which to pick to satisfy your needs.